So the first drill we're going to start with 6-point and 4-point explosions. So we like to start our run individual period with these drills. Okay, some of the coaching pieces in here, and if I go back to the start, try to work from a line so your guys know where to put their hands behind that line. Okay, and you want the hands in line with the knees, in line with the hips, in line with the ankles. And one key piece here is to make sure they dig in those toe cleats into the grass so that they can work and have a base to work from or something to work from so it has more carryover to the game. Okay. Notice how their hands are almost in a track stance or a 40 stance. That's because we want those hands to come up with the thumbs up. All right, that's going to keep our elbows in line, and it's not going to put our elbow out, because when we put our elbow out, not only are we losing a little bit of strength, we're also exposing our shoulder to injury. So we want to come up with it. We want to punch up. So we're aligning ourselves for success. Okay. Big thing here, bag holders. All right. If you want a great drill, you got to coach your bag holders just as much as you coach your guys running the drill. All right. We want the one hand high, one hand low, and hold it to you as much as possible. Throughout this drill tape, you'll see that our guys are holding one hand high, one hand low as much as possible. So let's take a look here. We want to act like we've got handcuffs here tied in on a chain to our hips. So as our hands go, our hips go, and we want to go ahead and sell out and fall forward. So this is 6 points of pressure. Hands, knees, and toes. And notice how we're punching up and through the pad. Up and through the pad. So hips are going. We want to make sure that our hips get out in front of our knees. Okay, especially in this drill. So anytime we go through a run Indy progression, we want to start from the ground up. The ground is where we're going to get our source of force. Okay. So we go through a couple reps of this, reload. I like to give them at least 2 shots. And make sure that when your guys are going, and I'll pause it here on the strike, we still want everything aligned. Okay, we want elbows in line with shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles. Okay, so make sure you see this extension. When contact is made through the pad, the hips are in front of the knees, and we're getting a good pop on that pad. Our thumbs are up. Okay, our thumbs are up, so we're punching up. All right, we don't want our thumbs in punching out. We want our thumbs up punching up. All right, so we get a few shots of those. This can be a good tempo drill for you to start off practice. Okay, then we go into 4-point. All right, so we're slowly building ourselves up from a 6-point progression to a 4-point progression, which is the knees and the toes. And then you'll see as we go through this drill tape that we're going to be up on our feet. We're going to be upright. We're going to be coming off the football, establishing a run game. All right, right here, we don't have to be super aggressive. We don't have to be lean forward. We just want to see that we can take our hands from here and strike, throwing our hips forward. Okay, elbows are tucked in tight to the rib cage. All right, I like calling it rubbing a hole in the rib cage. We don't want our elbows out. All right, if we rub a hole in our rib cage, it's forcing us to keep our elbows in. Okay, we've got our hips in line with our knees, in line with our ankles, and our toes are in the ground. We've got a good bag holder right here, one high, one low, and we're ready to strike. All right. Now, one thing that we've got to coach, I like putting the bad with the good on drill tapes so we can see it, because you're going to get a lot of bad. You're going to get a lot of good, but you're going to get a lot of bad. Let's look at it. So remember, if we go back to the 6-point progression, the 6-point explosion, we want to make sure everything's in line. Okay, we want knees in line with hips, in line with elbows, shoulders, everything in line. This first movement right here, knees flared out. Okay, we don't want the force going away from our target. We want the force going to our target and everything working through this angle into the ground. When our knees flare out, we're not getting as much force as we can. So this drill right here, I would coach them up. If I'm standing from the back, I would coach them up and say, listen, we want to keep everything in line. Let's get back to the starting point and let's do it again. Okay, so if we go back and watch that whole thing, those knees are flaring out. All right, and we want to make sure we correct that. Okay, get a second pop. And those knees flare out again. So this is why you try to film as much as you can, because you go back, you can watch every single rep, coach every single rep, and notice, hey, look here. Now look what it does to this player, okay? Knees flare out. Hips are no longer in front of knees. Hips are directly over knees, and our thumbs are in and our fingers are up, our elbows are out. So this is a much different look in this striking position than it is when we went back to the 6-point. So maybe we need to work on more 4-point starts, okay, 4-point explosions. All right, this is a good angle, of course, with the resources at the FBS level. You have a lot of cameras in a lot of different areas to film, which is excellent for any position, especially O-line when we're looking at hips. So this right here, I love stripes on practice pants just because it allows you to see, are those hips really in front of the knees or are they not? So as we look across, we want to make sure those hips almost break that goal line before we strike. And it allows us to see everything in alignment as well. So if we go to the collision point, we go all the way across the board. Hips are in front of knees, hips are in front of knees, hips are in front of knees, hips are in front of knees. We look at the elbows. We want to make sure our elbows are in line. Thumbs are up, okay? For the most part across the board, this is a good position to be in for a collision point. Okay, so that's a successful individual drill, individual rep. Okay? So again, the next progression we go to is roll and run. Some of the footage in here that you're going to see. This is Dante Scarnecchia and the Patriots. So it's really cool, especially at the high school level, for our guys to see, hey, we're doing some of the same drills that the New England Patriots do. We're doing some of the same drills that NFL teams do. All right? And some of the best offensive minds, offensive line coaches in the nation have done these drills. And it's just cool because they hear it from us enough. It's cool when they see it from other people, you know? And that builds belief in what you're doing in the individual drills. All right, roll and run. So right here, we're going to be starting position. We're going to look at Rockavius Chambers right here, okay? And we're going to keep our eyes on this young man right here, because when we're looking at this drill, this is the one to watch. So hips are in front of knees on the starting position. Okay, we got a good bend in the hips, knees, and ankles. Beautiful flat back. Our elbows are in line with our shoulders. And we've got a good body posture, good leverage to work from. And I want to watch him as you blow that whistle or you give that cadence. Watch him snap his hips through, keep a base, and run with a base. So we give the cadence, snap the hips, roll and run. Snap the hips, roll and run. Okay, we'll go back to it. Snap the hips, roll and run. So again, we want a full foot in the ground. As I'm looking across, I can see who is straining and who's not, right? We don't want to be too tall up and down, okay? We don't want to be too tall. We want to be through the block. We want to maintain a good base. And I make it simple. I just call it running with a base, okay? We're going to be aggressive and we're going to run with a base. Again, good starting position. Here's Rockavius. Flat back, hips in front of ankles, okay? We've got a good elbow alignment with our shoulder. Hands are tucked up under the shoulder pads here. And we're ready to snap the hips, roll and run. Okay, so let's watch. Fourth from the end. Rockavius Chambers snapping the hips, rolling and running. Boom. That first movement should be tucking that tail and running. Snap those hips and run with a base. Snap those hips and run with a base. Okay? So again, that's first level collision mechanics right there. The roll and run. We're already fit. We're driving through the collision point. Now we're trying to block linebackers. Okay, so we call this the duck drill, similar to a duck walk. We'll display it up here, and we'll take a look at what this drill is. So right here, get your guy about 5 yards away, however you want. It's the approach that we're coaching here. It's the approach, and then after the approach, it turns into a roll and run. It turns into a roll and run after the approach. Good bag holders, okay, one high, one low. Make sure they're in a position to take that strike. We want to make sure that our knees are leading our toes. We never want our toe to lead our knee. Okay, we want good aggressive shin angles through the bag. Hairline, so right here my hairline needs to be underneath the chin strap of these defenders. And right when I get to that bag, there go my collision point mechanics. I'm going to snap my hips, roll and run. So as you see, it's a progression. All right, it's a progression. Your individual drills should have flow to them. Okay, we're going to strike, roll our hips, run with a base. So notice if I were to start it right here, that looks like the roll and run drill that we just talked about. All we did was we added an approach to it, just like we're blocking linebackers, roll and run with a base.